I don't know what to do anymore. I have nowhere to go, no food. What am I gonna do? Huh. How tragic for you. So yeah, let me see. What am I gonna do about you? Yeah, not looking good. You're gonna be sleeping under the bridge. And by the way, it's 30 degrees outside, so make sure you don't freeze. There is no blanket though. I don't have a blanket for you, and also your debit card is broken, so yeah. Go figure it out. You'll survive though. Hey guys, what's up? It's Sarah back at it again with another video. Today, a little bit different. This is going to be more of a personal story, but I really wanted to talk about it because I see a lot of talk about the Saturn return, not as much about the Saturn square Saturn transit, which absolutely wrecked me. And I wanted to share it so maybe it'll help you out. Maybe you have something similar going on and you aren't recognizing that's what's happening. So I thought it would be helpful. So, what is the Saturn square Saturn transit? Now, Saturn has a planetary orbit of 28 and a half years, meaning it takes almost 29 years to go around the zodiac once, right? And that also means that when we're between, I don't know, 27 to 30, really depending on what degree your Saturn is at in your natal chart, because there are 29, actually 30 degrees from 0 to 29 degrees in your chart where it could be at. Depending on where it is in your chart, it's going to start a bit sooner or later. And yeah, it will return to that sign where it was at in your at the time of your birth, right? And that's called your Saturn return. So around the age 28 to 30, it's just a major phase of growing up and often transformation when you're in the wrong path. Saturn is kind of realigning you. So honestly, a lot of people get married during that time, change their careers. And again, there's a lot of talk about it because it is a significant transit that only occurs every 28 and a half years, right? Because of the long planetary orbit, Saturn actually stays in the same zodiac sign for 2.5 to 3 years. So it's quite a significant period. And, we'll only experience a few in life. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today is the Saturn square Saturn transit, meaning now transit Saturn, it has returned once already, right? And then about 7 years later, it makes a square. It is now three signs ahead. And if you know a bit of astrology, you already know a square is a harsh aspect. It's a really harsh energy. It's like an energetic clash, and it feels like pressure. And I'm going to be honest, for the past couple of years, I've been learning astrology, and I was not really aware of this transit, even though it's logical, right? If you hear about, the 7th year is when a lot of relationships break, for example, that is the 7-year cycle. And the reason for that is, again, think of the 28-year orbit of the planet. If you divide it by 4, every 7 years, you have like a significant Saturn aspect to your natal Saturn. And that is the 7-year cycle. So again, while I'm learning astrology, I'm actually experiencing this, but I didn't know at first until I finally figured it out, and then it all made sense what was happening to me. I have to say though that in my personal case, just of the way where my planets are in my chart, it was a lot worse than it will be for a lot of people. Saturn entered Pisces in March of 2023. And yeah, it's been there ever since. But then this year, I think end of May it actually entered Aries the first time. And then in the summer started retrograding, and then it re-entered Pisces, I believe the first week of September. Now it's still in Pisces, but again, like it's finishing up that cycle. Because the retrograde is over. Now it's moving forward again. And then next month, it will actually re-enter Aries and finally stay there. After almost 3 years with a little break, I am so over it. It entered Pisces early 2023, and I didn't notice that around that time things just became harder in my life, and I just started feeling intense pressure from all sides, right? And I do have to say though that, disclaimer, because I'm going to tell you a lot of negative things that happened to me, it wasn't all bad. I also got blessed and I got some good things during that time, but like the majority of this transit was like a horror show. It was really, really intensely bad, and worse than anything I've ever felt, honestly. So yeah, I started feeling that pressure again. I didn't know what was going on at the time, and it didn't get better. It only got worse. And my health started declining pretty badly. And everything was just so difficult. Money started getting more difficult as well. And then, so about 6-7 months into this transit, my dad died. That was the first death. And obviously that came with a lot of grief. And also I was next of kin. So a lot of responsibility on me. Again, very Saturnian, right? Saturn always feels like it's kicking your ass and it forces you to grow up, right? So I was already in a bad place before this happened, and now I have all this additional pressure on me combined with grief. And then my dad, who was American, had moved overseas to France for the past couple of years. So now I'm not only next of kin, I'm also dealing with like this crazy situation where I have to take care of things in a different country, France, and I'm not French, so, and I'm honestly, even this has been now over 2 years and I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that situation with things that I still have of him in France, but that's another story. So yeah, now we have a very significant death, obviously, a lot of grief, worsening health issues, work money issues, where because my health is declining, I'm not even really able to work the hours that I would need to. So it really felt like I'm stuck much worse than before, because like I'm simply not able to make it happen because like my health just isn't there, right? Like I can be planning, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do this and this and this, and then I'd feel like crap again because of a health condition that I've had for years, but it was just so much worse at the time. So that was a significant block. And then I would stress more, and that would make me get even worse. And then combine that with grief, where positive person that I usually am, I wasn't that anymore. And again, how could you be if you're also dealing with intense grief, right? And I know everyone deals with grief differently. In the beginning, it's really intense. You get amnesia and stuff, right? Where you can't even remember what you did the day before. And then if you look back months, you're just like, there's just a black hole. I don't remember anything. So I was dealing with that. Other things in my life just continued to get worse, right? And I did get some little breaks in here where some good things happened. But there's this overlying current of pressure and grief and negativity and just feeling really stagnant. And I was just starting to feel better about like after like a year after my dad's death, right? And then someone else that I was extremely close to got like a cancer diagnosis, and it was already advanced, and it was pretty sure, oh, that might be it. And I remember saying to my mom, okay, if this happens, like just put me in the crazy house after. Like, I don't think I will be able to handle this. And yeah, only 2-3 months later, this person passed away. And the way how it happened was was really bad, because I was trying to make it there, and then he literally passed while I'm in the airport on the plane about to take off. And then that same night, someone else in my family died, like my mom's sister. And yeah, I mean, can you imagine me? Like, I was just like, I just felt like the universe was like playing me at this point. And again, like, how do you get back to a positive state? How do you get back to feeling positive about the future? It was just impossible. And yeah, I mean, I tried pushing through, and again, I still had all these other issues. And now, money was also just getting worse. And again, like my health totally declining. So I can't even physically put in what I would need to. Plus, I have lost myself at this point. Like, I have completely lost my positive outlook on life. So this was the harshest about this transit for me. It just brought out so much darkness that I honestly never felt before in my life. Yeah, this is probably what I was struggling with most, because, in the past, anything that happened, I always felt like, okay, but I have my outlook on life, my mindset, my energy. Like, I can definitely always change things and make them better. But I felt like I lost that because of how I was feeling, which is super normal in a situation like that, right? It really taught me like what happens when things come crashing down that you're not responsible for. And this actually caused me to feel much more frustrated now when I see people that are always like, oh no, anyone can have this and this is so great. And yes, and again, this was almost like a split for me because of my work and what I'm doing here on this channel, because it just really taught me how like things can happen that you have zero control over and that actually affect other people, but like what happens to them might completely wreck you, right? And sometimes there are forces that we just have zero control over. And yes, we can absolutely put out our energy and manifest or do magic even, and it works, but there are things that are just beyond. I mean, my situation was very death related, right? And how that really impacted me on how to deal with other issues, where I suddenly felt like I can't just easily change it because I feel like shit. But also stuff like even nature, right? Like when, in Florida, or I think last year was in North Carolina, South Carolina, I believe it was North Carolina, right? But just like think of a hurricane that wipes away your house and maybe your small business too. Maybe you have a brick and mortar store and that just gets wiped out in a day. Was that your fault? Was that your mindset? And again, there's some nuance to it. I do believe in, divine protection and luck, and some people may believe into karma, but that's not really the point of what I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying to say certain things you can't control certain things. And that really humbled me. Before I cut off this video, I wanted to say I actually experienced my Saturn square a bit earlier than other people, like a bit younger. And that is because my Saturn in my chart is in Sagittarius at 29 degrees, right? Because I was born 1988. And 1988, it actually went into Capricorn. So a lot of people that are the same age as me have it in Capricorn. Around the time I was born, it was retrograding to have it at the last degree of Sagittarius. And the 29th degree, the last degree of a sign, is called a critical degree already. And then I was also born under a conjunction with Uranus, which is kind of insane. So sometimes like things just can happen very suddenly in my life out of the blue, and they cannot be pretty. And so that was one factor. This is why I experienced this earlier. So a lot of people that are the same age as me are actually gonna start experiencing their Saturn square when it goes into Aries, because then it will square their natal Saturn that is in Capricorn, right? But again, like in traditional astrology, the transit actually gets activated once it enters a sign. So again, it entered in Pisces, and even though I have a very, very late degree, it's not making this angle, but it still gets activated, and then it got the most intense actually in 2025. So that is something I have to note there. And then also in my case, why it really sucked is because I have a Gemini stellium, right? A stellium is 3 or more planets in a sign. So now I was dealing with like the Saturn, square Saturn, and also square Uranus, because like I have this conjunction. And then on the other side of the chart, it's squaring a bunch of planets in Gemini in the 12th house, right? So this is also why like there was just a lot of loss and darkness, because the 12th house, and especially in traditional astrology, was seen as negative and also like as the house of loss. And because I have a bunch of planets there, I do live in this energy a lot, and I like it. It's not as negative like in my natal chart, right? That energy that it gives me for my life. It makes me very psychic. It gives me crazy dream. I feel like I live in the dream world, right? Like, and honestly, a lot of actors and celebrities actually have a bunch of 12th house placements, and even politicians. So there are good things that you can get from the 12th house. But what usually happens is in a transit, when it gets harshly aspected, then like those really negative things come out a lot, of those themes of loss, of darkness. I had that getting very activated for those almost 3 years as well, which kind of explains my experience, right? And that is also another thing that in the beginning, when all of this started happening, I didn't see. Oh, and there's one more detail I can tell you that also kind of fucked me, is I have Mars in Pisces. So now the two malefics in astrology are Mars and Saturn, right? So I have Saturn already messing with me badly, but I also have the other malefic in the same house now making a conjunction. So it's two malefics on top of each other. And yeah, if you ever pay attention, like whenever Saturn is conjuncting Mars, or even in the same house, like it's just never a good time. So yeah, again, this is not a video to like pity me, but I hope this was helpful because I really want you to look at your chart. I want you to look where your Saturn is in your chart, and especially if you're in that age between 35, 36, 37, 38. Again, mine started actually a bit earlier. For a lot of my friends that are 37, it's just starting now, really. And then it's gonna last until they're 39. So I would say if you're between 35 and 39, go and see what's up there. I'm saying all of this because in the last few years, I've seen a lot of people kind of crashing out, closing their businesses, reinventing themselves, and they're just burning it all down. And I just really wonder what's going on there, and if it's maybe Saturn or something like a Saturn square if it's not their return. Because of course, I follow a lot of people that are my age. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share you today. And final thing I wanted to say, for me, the difference between the return and the square, the return is really, it feels more like a nudge. It's like, hey, your life is getting more difficult. Hey, grow up. Like Saturn is like nudging you, like, hey, change something there. I'm realigning you to your path. But it does feel like even if it gets hard, there's some kind of support there. So the Saturn return is like, oh, you have nowhere to go? Okay, sleep at your auntie's house. And I'm sorry that the cat is pissing on the couch, but like you have somewhere to sleep, right? Like you'll be fine. Versus the Saturn square is like, oh, you have nowhere to go. Too bad for you. It's 30 degrees outside. I guess you'll be sleeping under the bridge. So that's the difference. That's really how it felt to me. I felt like this one is actually diabolical and so much harsher. But again, maybe it's going to be nicer to you than it was for me. I'm just really looking forward when this is over next month. And yeah, it just shows you certain things are beyond our control. Sometimes it can just hit you from all sides and you just got to deal with it, but you'll get through it somehow. So, okay, I think that's enough for today's video and I see you soon. Bye guys.